Welcome back to another video. So in today's one, we're going to go through one of the most important things when it comes to email marketing for e-commerce brands, and that is the written word, that is copywriting, right? So for 7 and 8 figure brands, and actually for any type of e-commerce brand, no matter what kind of level you're at, the right copy can be the difference between getting the sale and not getting the sale, right? So this video is going to dive into the strategies, the styles, and the frameworks that make email copywriting a powerful tool in your arsenal, right? Now, first things first is we're going to go through the different styles of copywriting, because you might notice that, depending on the brand, they use a different tone of voice, they use a different style of copywriting as well, which we're going to discuss. And what you'll find as well is, if you're looking at a lot of different brands, right, especially the bigger brands, what they'll do is they will mix a few different styles of copywriting into the one. So this will make a bit more sense as we kind of go through this video. But the first style that we want to kind of go through, right, is branded copywriting. And as I mentioned here, look, not all copy is created equal. There are different styles. This will depend on what your brand tone of voice is, what kind of personality it has, and so on and so forth, right? Different scenarios will call for different styles of copywriting, right? For example, in an abandoned cart email, your style of copywriting may want to be a bit different to, let's say, some form of weekly newsletter that you have that's more so educational, that's value driven. Now, going back to the initial point just on branded copywriting, first of all, we're going to go into what it is. And basically, it's about maintaining a consistent brand voice across your emails, your advertising, that reflects your brand's identity. Now, it's a style where you'll want to reinforce who the brand is, what you stand for, what your values are, and all that kind of good stuff, right? When to use this is, we like to love to use this in newsletters, welcome emails, and any content that's designed to strengthen, obviously, the relationship between your brand and the customer, right? So building that brand equity in the eyes of the customer, that's when you want to use it. Now, it's ideal for storytelling as well, about sharing stuff about how the brand started, again, what your values are, what your mission is, and a nice example of this, if you do remember, is Apple's Shot on iPhone campaign, right? It's a prime example of branded copywriting. Very short copywriting, but hopefully this kind of gets the idea across, right? So the idea here was that the campaign uses value-driven copy to highlight the quality of photos actually taken with an iPhone, right? So as you can see here in this image, we have two women facing the other way, and we have down in the bottom, if you can actually see it, we'll zoom in a small bit, by Amani Willett, Cambridge Port, shot on iPhone. So the idea here is that by saying very little, the customer kind of knows the quality of the product, the quality of the photos on an iPhone, and it kind of gets that message across without actually, using long form copy to actually really sell it. It kind of sells itself, if that makes sense. And because Apple is such a world-renowned brand, they can get away with stuff like this, of course, because people are going to know what the shot on iPhone actually means, because they probably have an iPhone. And moving down here, right, to kind of more examples to do with email marketing. And Hugh will do this really well with their newsletter, so the digest. Bear in mind, I will have this document down below in the comment section, so just tap the link in the comment section if you want access to this to properly read through all of these emails. But you can see here, as I mentioned, using this style of copywriting in newsletters is a really good shout. And we do weekly newsletters, and by newsletter I mean educational content every single week for most of our clients, and this performs so well, because you're making customers feel like they're part of the brand, they're part of the story, they're part of the mission, they are part of the values that your brand has. And a newsletter is a really good way of kind of getting this messaging across, right? So you'll see here that it's kind of mainly value driven, and you're driving customers towards value driven content, and this stuff works really well, right? Now next, we're going to go on to direct response copywriting, something that if you're in the copywriting space or email marketing space, you've heard quite a lot about. And it's essentially what it is it's basically just there to drive action. You're literally trying to get a direct response out of a customer, and it's persuasive, and you're looking to get that immediate response, whether that's making a purchase, going towards giving some form of details, signing up for something, downloading a guide. That is what direct response copy is there to do. Get that customer or that person to take that immediate action. Now, when you'd use this is probably in sales, product launches, or any other campaign where you're just trying to get someone to complete a purchase or do some form of action, right? A really strong example of this is from the Wall Street Journal's Two Young Men ad. also known as the story of two men. Now, I'm not going to read through the full thing. You can access this down below in the comment section, this document. Have a read through this. This is one of the best pieces of copywriting I've ever read. Sorry, not written. I won't take credit for that. But definitely read through that. It is absolutely fantastic. And what it does is essentially, like, this is a long form print ad. And it tells the story of two men who have similar backgrounds, but one becomes more successful than the other. Essentially, it transpires that the difference between two of them was one read the Wall Street Journal and one didn't. And then it's trying to drive a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. Obviously trying to drive that immediate action. So take a read through that. That is one of the best pieces of copywriting I've ever read. And I strongly recommend checking that out. Now, if you're more so interested in how this is actually done through email marketing, different examples you can see, we have AG1, we have Fields, and we have Surreal. One thing you'll notice is that like a lot of these brands will blend either like branded copywriting or direct response copywriting. So, you know, the lines may be blurred sometimes. It may kind of become a bit confusing, but essentially you just need to think, okay, whenever they're trying to drive an immediate action, that is direct response copywriting. And what you can see here is from AG1's email. We'll just zoom in here a bit, that they're really selling the benefits. So what people can expect when trying AG1 is they'll find their focus, they'll age well, they'll stay balanced, and we have, of course, what is actually included in the product here with a direct call to action to try AG1. So you're trying to get a direct response there. Fields do this quite well also. Why going for the mints? So we're really trying to sell that. It has a great taste, consistent dose every time, rapid relief. It's vegan and 100% sugar free. So this is going to be removing some form of objection that a customer may have about trying out these mints. And we also have some social proof here to back up the claims or the statements that have been made up here above, right? Nice strong headline as well here, saying, if we just zoom in a small bit, fast acting and long lasting. My zoom is kind of acting a bit weird, but fast acting and long lasting, hitting directly on some pain points that customers may have, because they might find that, the benefits of a certain product may take a bit of time to actually seep in. And then, of course, when they do, they don't last long. So immediately hitting on some pain points with a direct call to action to shop these mints. Surreal do the exact same thing here, in terms of trying to get a direct action out of the customer. Now, you'll see here that they're probably not selling the benefits of the cereal too much, but what they are doing is they're using some branded copywriting in their tone of voice that makes the email kind of lighthearted. It's in the tone of voice of the brand. It makes it familiar, but you're still trying to grab, or have at least a direct response out of the customer. So that will be some direct response copy, kind of mixed with a bit of branded copy as well. Now, if we come down here a bit, we have a third style, which is conversational copywriting. So again, you'll see this being mixed between, you'll have maybe conversational copywriting mixed with a bit of direct response, or maybe conversational copywriting mixed with a bit of branded copywriting, or maybe all the three. It could be mixed together, right? So what this does is it engages your reader in a friendly, relatable tone, right? So it actually kind of sounds like a person, literally like a conversation, and it makes your brand feel more approachable than others, right? And it's kind of an important thing to know when you're writing emails is like, the email will likely be better if it sounds like it's actually written by a person, or at least to one person, right? So next time you go down and sit and write an email, try to write it for one specific person. If you build out a customer avatar, or if you have that on hand for either your brand or your clients, try to speak to that one singular customer in your emails and do it in a conversational tone and try it out. This stuff really, really works well. Now, you can use this in welcome sequences, customer follow-ups as well. We love to use this in post-purchase follow-ups and casual check-ins with customers, right? Now, I won't go into all of them, but one thing I absolutely love is this liquid debt email here, right? So we were worried about you, and this email is actually in the abandoned cart, I believe, right? So, hey, it's me, the guy who writes all the emails for liquid debt. Listen, I don't like to break character like this, but did you die or get kidnapped or something, right? It opens up very conversational. It's funny. And if you can kind of make a customer like subtly chuckle when they're actually reading the email, look, the chances of you converting them are much, much higher. And it adds a lot more personality to the brand, right? So hopefully that kind of clears up as to what conversational copywriting is. You'll also see here, actually, we'll just go into Dr. Squatch's one, more grooming mistakes women hate and how to fix them, looking, smelling and feeling your best day in, day out is going to set you up with confidence you need, especially with the women in your life. How about we check in on a few more common grooming mistakes and get you dialed in on how to fix them. So using like kind of copy here that is kind of, I suppose, conversational, colloquial, even if you want to say it that way, makes the brand feel a bit more relatable, right? A bit more approachable. So that is what conversational copywriting does. Your fam now, so again, kind of using some form of colloquialism or conversational language, again, makes the brand feel, you know, a bit more approachable, a bit more friendly, and a bit more fun as well. Now, going on to storytelling copywriting, right? Now, this uses narratives to create an emotional bond with your audience, and it's about weaving a story that resonates with your audience on a deeper level, right? When to use this is like sharing your brand's origin story, customer success stories, or when you're introducing a new product line, for example, telling the story about how hard, you know, the brand has worked to get the product to this point, sharing the let's say the production process, how the product was made, so on and so forth, the different ideas that were at the table before the product was actually made, telling the story behind it, right? It's the perfect style of emails to evoke emotions and inspire action as well. Now, a good example of this here is when Coca-Cola personalized the names of their bottles, right? So the campaign used storytelling to create personal connections and framing the act of sharing of Coke as a way to share moments and stories with loved ones, right? So Coca-Cola leveraged this narrative in various ads, and I'm sure you probably remember this, showing people reuniting, celebrating, connecting over a Coke. They're sharing that emotion and turning a simple drink into a symbol of shared experiences, right? So that was a bit of storytelling copywriting, or storytelling marketing, advertising, whatever you want to call it, with this campaign that they ran, which I'm sure most of you will probably remember. Now, more examples of this is, again, we're not going to read through all of this, but the story of a 76-year-old man who got me into the best shape of my life, and it tells a whole story here about how that actually happened. Now, this is a really good piece of copywriting. Would strongly recommend having a read through this. Really, really good stuff. But you'll also notice here that we're actually, like, the author or the copywriter is actually looking to take some details here as well. So they're still trying to get a direct response out of the customer, out of the reader. So that is a nice blend of storytelling and direct response copywriting. Right, so it's really important that you don't have to just use one style. You can always blend a few, and more often than not, blending a few actually is, you know, it's more desirable copy, to be honest, and it looks, reads, sounds a lot better. Now, another example here is from Blue Blocker storytelling. When I put on the pair of glasses, what I saw I could not believe, nor will you. And it's going to tell a story here. I'm about to tell you a true story. If you believe me, you'll be rewarded. If you don't believe me, I'll make it worth your while to change your mind. Let me explain, right? So it starts off quite well, nice and intriguing, and it's going off telling a huge story about these glasses, and again, looking for a direct response here, right? So we're still blending direct response with the storytelling. Now, if you're getting stuck and you're like, how the hell do I actually write some copy like this, right? You can use a lot of storytelling, copywriting frameworks the next time you sit down, right? So use ChatGPT to even create copy using these frameworks, but I'm going to quickly explain a few of them. The AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. Use that for persuasive emails where you want to drive some action. So what this would kind of look like is the attention part, 50% off. Interest, these deals won't last. The desire, you deserve the best. Action, shop now. That is a really, really simple version of how to, you know, apply the AIDA or the AIDA framework. A really popular framework, used quite a lot, right? One of my favorite, the PAS, problem, agitate, solution. So what you're doing here is you're hitting the customer with the problem that they have, you're agitating that problem, and then you're positioning your product, your service, your solution, as the solution, I should say. Now you'll use this when you're addressing a common pain point that the customer has. So an example here is struggling with dry skin. It's frustrating, we know. You could even go on a bit further here. Of course, this is just a simple example, but our moisturizer can help. This is why it can help. This is exactly what it does. These are what other customers have been saying about our moisturizer. Before, after bridge, great for storytelling or transformational emails. Again, you can see an example here. We have the 4 P's, promise, picture, proof, push. The 4 U's, this is mainly for headlines, to be honest. Urgent, unique, ultra specific, and useful, by Robert Bly from his book, the Copywriter's Handbook, which I strongly recommend reading. And SLAP, SLAP, right? So there's a few copywriting frameworks here that you can use, and you should, generally speaking, like whenever you're sitting down writing copy, you always use a framework, Always use a framework and try not to, just aimlessly write, and look at, examples of good copywriting. Try to reword it in a way that suits your brand, right? Because all these kind of examples, these examples work, right? So try and spin these in a different way for your brand. Now, next we're going on to writing effective subject lines. This is actually one of the most important parts of your email because it's the gatekeeper, right? If you don't get someone to open the email, the rest of the copy goes out the window, right? So you need to have a really, really strong subject line. So how do you do this? There's a few key strategies here. So number one is keeping it short and sweet. Aim for 6 to 10 words. Try and keep it short because on mobile, if you have it too long, people won't be able to see the full subject line. You might want to create urgency, personalize it, call the person by name, and test and optimize as well. So always be testing some subject lines, see what actually works. Does a longer, let's say on the longer end, does a longer subject line work? Does a shorter subject line work? Do numbers or emojis work in the subject line, or do they not? And look, the subject line is your first and sometimes only chance to grab someone's attention. It sets the stage for the entire email, so you have to make it count. You absolutely have to, right? Now, moving on to headline copy. This is the second most important part because if you're treating the email like a funnel, the subject line gets the open. Now, if they open, the next thing that they're going to see is the headline copy, right? So you can actually, if you're writing headlines, you can even use the four U's by Robert Bly for crafting effective headlines: urgent, unique, ultra specific, and useful. So take that into consideration. But if we come back down here, a few strategies here is to be clear and direct, use curiosity, keep it benefit driven, and why this works is your headline is your hook, right? Most people aren't actually going to read beyond the headline. About 80% of people are just going to read the headline, and then the rest, they won't even bother reading that. So this is going to be one of the most important parts once someone actually opens that email, right? And you can see a few examples here. So from Armora, stop the clock. Birthdays are inevitable, but aging doesn't have to be. So obviously they're hitting on a pain point here in terms of aging, and the rest of the email will go on then to explain how their products help with that. Step onto campus with a fresh look. So you're foreshadowing, or you're future pacing what that customer will feel like once they use this product. Finding your new routine is an easy A. People are 20 faves below, right? So you're hitting on, I suppose I wouldn't call it a pain point, but a desire that the customer has about stepping onto campus with that fresh look. Ursa Major here, not your average SPF. Force Field SPF 30 is more than just powerful broad spectrum protection. It's a dreamy daily moisturizer that keeps skin happy and hydrated, right? So hitting on those desires of the customer, and also positioning this brand as being different from other competitors who also sell SPF. The mother of all skin solutions, join the waitlist to be the first to shop our newest collection, right? So it's building some form of intrigue, some excitement coming soon. So hopefully this is all making sense. These are examples of a few headlines that you could use for your brand. Now, just going back to what I was saying there about treating the email as a funnel, you have to treat it as such, right? The subject line will get the open. Once they open, the headline is going to capture their attention. So that's the next most important thing. The body copy is going to reinforce their decision, so you can explain a bit further about the product. But again, you don't want to completely overload customers as well, because people's attention spans are absolutely fried these days. So what you want to do here is you want to deliver your message, build trust, provide value. You could showcase some testimonials, and might answer any questions, any objections that the customer may have, and of course eliminate any hesitation there, right? And then of course you have the CTA, which sells the click, right? Whether that's going to be shop now, learn more, download a guide, visit our blog, whatever that may be. All right, now onto psychology in copywriting, right? Effective email copywriting is about understanding the psychology behind why people buy, right? So by tapping into these triggers, these psychological triggers, you can create copy that resonates on a deeper level and gets people to actually convert, right? Now we'll have a look at a few things in which you can leverage in your copy the next time you sit down to tap into these psychological triggers. The first one is going to be scarcity and urgency. People are way more likely to act when they feel like they're going to miss out. Nobody wants to feel like they're missing out. So creating a sense of urgency, scarcity, for example, only 5 left in stock, or sale is ending soon, sale ends at midnight, can create prompter decisions, quicker decisions, right? Social proof. At our core, we are social creatures, and of course, we are much more likely to purchase something if there has been thousands of other people saying that they have had fantastic experience. So use that to your advantage as well, using social proof. Reciprocity, so when you give something of value, people feel a natural urge to give something in return. So if you're constantly, for example, hard selling customers all of the time, always trying to give them discounts, always trying to push them over the edge, always trying to ask for the purchase, that's going to leave a bad taste in the customer's mouth. But instead, if you are, for example, giving educational newsletters, you're sharing how-to guides, busting myths in the industry, giving them actual useful value, useful content, that customer then will feel a bit more obliged to then make that purchase once you do ask for the purchase, right? And then of course consistency as well. People like to be consistent with their past behavior. So reminding customers of their previous purchases or interactions can help you help the customer continue that relationship. So a good example of this would be in a post-purchase email. If you're selling supplements, for example, you may want to tell a customer that hey, look, don't try to continue this good habit that you've just started. So let's say it's a dietary supplement. Let's say it's some form of supplement that might help you focus, for example, right? Now, what you may want to do in that example is let them know all of the benefits that they probably have experienced by taking that for the first time, but you want to also let them know that hey, look, continue this good habit. If you continue this good habit, it's going to lead to benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3, and they will obviously want to stay in line with their past behaviors. They'll want to stay in line with that habit that they've just decided to start for themselves. So that's kind of an example of how you could use consistency in your copy. Anchoring is a cognitive bias where people rely heavily on the first piece of information they see. So by presenting a higher priced item first, you make subsequent offers seem like a better deal. So that's important to know. Framing is how you present information and can significantly impact decision making. So this is crucial for when you're testing offers, but for instance, get 20% off may be more compelling than save $10 off or whatever that may be, right? Or for example, 10% off. So let's say save 10% off could be much more, let's say, valuable, or let's say drive more conversions than if you were to say get $10 off when you spend $100 or more, which is essentially the same offer. So framing is very, very important in your copy. And then of course storytelling, which we've already explained, but it's not just for entertainment, it's also a powerful tool to create emotional connections with your audience and influence some form of decision. Now, a few common mistakes to avoid with copyright is number 1, overcomplicating your message, neglecting mobile optimization as well, but this is more of a design thing, ignoring audience preferences, and overloading it with CTAs. If you avoid all of these mistakes, you should be sweet, right? Don't overcomplicate your message. Don't try to get multiple points across in one video, or in one email, I should say, or in one piece of advertising. If you're neglecting mobile optimization, that just means that essentially your copy could be too small on mobile. So that's more, again, of a design thing. And ignoring audience preferences as well. One size does not fit all. It doesn't work with email marketing, right? So use segmentation to tailor your messaging to different groups. For example, buyers, non-buyers, VIP customers, subscription customers. There's a load of different pockets in there that you need to speak to differently, right? And then overloading with CTAs, that kind of pertains to the initial piece of advice I gave about overcomplicating your message. If you're trying to get a customer to, let's say, shop for a product, and then you're trying to get them to head to a blog, and then you're trying to get them to download a guide, it's too much. There's too many decisions to make, and then inevitably the customer will actually end up not making a decision at all, right? So that pretty much wraps up this guide. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below in the comment section. Again, you can grab this whole guide down below in the comments. Just tap the link, read through all of this stuff, study the copy in there, and hopefully, you found this video useful. And hopefully I will catch you on the next one.